Still to come, history, passion and pride behind the Lisbon derby. Benfica against Sporting.
It's indescribable. Sporting are everything.
The Benfica fans are the best in the world. That's why we're the biggest club in the world. Benfica are bigger. We're gentlemen, they aren't. They're animals. It's in their genes. It's a feeling you can't explain. Being a Sporting fan is something else.
Sporting are bigger. Sporting forever.
We love this club more than anyone can love something. We give our lives for the club.
Benfica Sporting or supporting Benfica.
Benfica Sporting is the greatest sporting clash in Portugal. This game gets everyone going, and it divides the whole country. In Portugal, we say that Benfica Sporting is the derby of all derbies. It's the grandfather of them all. Sporting Benfica goes beyond the country.
The derby has great significance for everyone. It's a game everyone wants to play in.
The derby is the derby. It doesn't matter where you are in the league, it's still Benfica Sporting.
Lisbon, Portugal's capital and a goldmine of cultural history. But it's also a football city and home to two giants of the European game, Benfica and Sporting.
Sporting is the club of the aristocracy, the rich, and Benfica is the club of the people. And this fame grew. As people would say, whoever isn't a Benfica fan isn't a real man.
It all started here. Founded back in 1908, Benfica were the result of a merger between Sport Lisboa and Grupo Sport Benfica. It was a working-class club representing a working-class neighbourhood. But few people would have believed that half a century later it would go on to become the colossus of Portuguese football.
They didn't have a lot of money. They were men of the people. They understood that Lisbon needed a popular club. What they didn't know was that they were founding a club that many years later would become one of the biggest clubs in the world.
Take a short trip to the home of Sporting in the wealthy Avelar district, and the difference couldn't be more apparent. Founded in 1906, backed by the Viscount of Alvalad's wealth, Sporting were very much the team of the elite.
Those who followed Sporting usually were of a higher standing. They were people from the army or navy, doctors, engineers, people closer to the aristocracy than Benfica fans were. This is the reason Sporting are viewed as such. Benfica were more of the people. They had more fans and followers, but Sporting were the aristocratic club.
It was the aristocrats of Sporting, though, who led from the front.
In
the 40s and 50s, Benfica were by no means the best team. It was Sporting. Their front five became known as the Five Violins. Incredible players.
Travassos, Peroteo, Albano, Jesus Correa and Vasquez, the 5 violins.
They were players who had great prestige, not just in Portugal, but Europe too. I had the great privilege of playing alongside them, notably Travassos and Albano. They were the top players in European football at that time.
But in the 1960s, it was all change. A footballing revolution was looming.
The 60s wasn't just the Benfica era either. It was the decade of the Beatles. A really great time. I think the 60s was the most important decade in the 20th century.
The swinging 60s were revolutionary in every sense, and Portuguese football was not about to be left out. The decade signalled a shift in power in the Portuguese capital and a golden era for Benfica. From being Sporting's poor relations, the club suddenly became a genuine force in European football. Their hero, a Mozambican immigrant known as the Black Panther. Everyone else called him Eusebio.
Eusebio changed everything. From the very moment he signed in the 1960s, Benfica became a footballing giant. At home, Benfica won twice as many games as Sporting. And that record was mainly down to the Eusebio era of the 1960s.
José Augusto was one of the stars of that team, as well as one of the world's first attack-minded fullbacks. Yet he's still in awe of the man whose blend of speed and raw power fired Benfica to the very top.
It was a privilege, an absolute privilege to play alongside Eusebio, along with all the other great players that Benfica had at that time. It was really an honour to have helped Eusebio have such a great career and to witness him become the best Portuguese footballer of all time.
After 15 goal-filled years at Benfica, Eusebio became a legend both for his club and country. But according to his childhood friend Hilario, he could easily have ended up at rivals Sporting.
At that time I spoke to the president of Sporting. I know this really good kid from my neighbourhood in Mozambique who you could sign. And the president said, no, I won't sign him unless he comes here and has a trial first. Obviously we used to give out trials so we could see if a player was any good or not. And so I went back to Eusebio and told him he could have a trial at Sporting. But he said, no, I'm not going to have a trial because I'm better than the best player at Sporting.
Instead, Hilario's boyhood friend went on to win it all at Benfica. 2 European Cups, 11 league titles, European Footballer of the Year in 1965 and the European Golden Boot in 1968. Hilario remembers the Lisbon derby of that year well. He was marking Eusebio that day, lucky chap.
It was an attack that came down our right-hand side. I had the job of marking Eusebio. Eusebio got the ball, and when he got the ball he looked up and he saw our goalkeeper Carvalho slightly off his line. So rather than shoot as he normally would, Eusebio clipped the ball just off the ground, and the next thing you know Carvalho was picking the ball out the back of his net. And I felt guilty that I hadn't gone in on him and brought him down. I let him think, and he punished us.
Benfica's success in the 1960s went beyond a national level. They soon became the dominant force in European football, in the process breaking Real Madrid's grip on the European Cup.